The chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee is coming to Dallas tomorrow, seemingly with the Dallas VA hospital in his crosshairs. Florida Congressman Jeff Miller says preventable deaths, suicides, and lapses in care are happening at VA hospitals, and that Dallas's hospital is one of the problems. He and Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson will outline their concerns about the Dallas VA tomorrow before kicking off full-blown hearings on the entire VA system in about a week and a half.
Jeffrey Milligan is the director of the VA healthcare system here in North Texas. Glad you're here.
Thanks for having us.
I got to be honest with you. I did a Google News search on you today, and with every search came Jeffrey Milligan had no comment. Seriously. So you, up until tonight, you haven't really been high profile. So we're glad you're here, but what made you decide to come on and talk with us?
Well, we want to talk about and let our veterans know out in the community with the great services that are available to them at the VA hospital here in Dallas and Fort Worth and all over North Texas.
Let's talk about, initially give some people some background. I'm going to bet the vast majority of people watching have never been to a VA hospital, but they have been to a regular hospital. What difference would they notice, do you think? What's the difference?
Well, how we're different than, say, a civilian hospital is we have more comprehensive care that we provide. Not only do we provide medical and surgical programs, but you can have dental services, audiology services in our hospital. Also, we provide a full range of mental health services. We also provide vocational rehab so that we train and educate our veterans so that they can go out and find employment.
Care for homeless?
A lot of work around homeless now especially.
Okay, so it's a one-stop place as opposed to a civilian hospital, which is not. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this visit tomorrow. It's an oversight visit. Eddie Bernice Johnson, Congresswoman from Dallas, and Jeff Miller from Florida. And I don't know, I can talk about some of the specifics. Miller, particularly the chairman of the Oversight Committee, has had some really tough talking to you or about your hospital specifically. Talking about patient complaints, employee complaints, deaths, suicides, your bonuses. Criticism that you expected, you don't think is warranted. What's been your reaction?
Well, the Congressman's been in Texas for the past 3 days, been in Houston, Lubbock, and then he's here in Dallas tomorrow. Right. We're real excited at the opportunity to sit down with him and talk about the services that we provide. I think that, or I believe that we provide high-quality health care services to our veterans of North Texas.
What about what he mentioned specifically, suicides, deaths, and you know, nobody wants to talk about their salary either, but your bonuses, those are things that are going to come up tomorrow. So how will you defend your operation?
Well, I think that we have a very robust program in place. Our mental health services, we've added probably a 20% increase in our staffing in mental health over the past 2 years. We do a lot of prevention around suicide. We offer a lot of programs to enhance. We hired 5 suicide prevention coordinators who do a lot of outreach in the community to try and identify those veterans who are at risk for suicide and make sure that we have the proper interventions in place to help them.
How about the bonus? Is that important? Is that a big deal to you? What do you think about that? This congressman is on that.
He is.
He's on it. So
he is. I think the congressman rightly wants to ensure that there's a high level of accountability within all of VA, and if there are areas that are underperforming, then he wants to make sure that those people, the people who run those organizations, are held accountable, as he should.
Fair enough. You got here in 2011, right?
October of 2011.
As you know, the VA, viewers at home remember, disaster in the early 2000s. 2004, the worst VA hospital ranking of any. I read one report by the Inspector General. In 2004, if you called the VA hospital and needed to see a doctor, it could take as long as 3 months to get in. The target was 30 days. It could take as long as 3 months. Have things improved? Do people get in and see doctors?
Things have improved greatly. We have some great clinical programs at the VA. We have some world-renowned cardiologists who work at the VA and provide care to our veterans. We have some world-renowned gastroenterologists at the VA who provide great care to our veterans. You know, if someone has a heart attack, one of the best predictors for having a healthy outcome is the amount of time between the heart attack and when you're in the cath lab. Yep. If you look at our data, you look at the time, they call it door to needle time, from the time you walk in the front door till the time that the catheterization begins, we have one of the best door to needle times in all of DFW. We're very, very proud of that.
So let's talk about the stain, though, of that. that is a stain that I'm sure you still carry to this day, the poor way it was operated in the early 2000s, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's something that we continue to struggle to overcome because it comes up from time to time. I know that when I make rounds in the clinics or in the inpatient units and I talk to veterans and their families, there's times when the patient's wife will say to me, you know, Mr. Milligan, we've thought about coming here before, but because of all the bad things that we've heard, we were afraid to. And invariably, the majority of them say, but since we've come here, we've been treated well, and we've been real happy with the care that we've received. And I'm very proud of that. And it also makes me sad to think that because they've heard some negative things about the VA, maybe there was some care that they needed that they didn't come in and get.
I'm going to ask you to give yourself some letter grades. Is that all right?
Sure.
A to F. That's what most people are familiar with. Okay. Grade the quality of care at the VA right now.
I'd give us a B+.
B+. From where has it moved? What did you hear about the early 2000s?
Well, the early 2000s,
what would you say?
To be perfectly honest, it was probably a C-.
Okay, and now it's a B+. How about speed? Getting people, two things, getting them in the door with an appointment and then moving them through the process.
It's
Grade.
Okay, B+.
B+. Why isn't it an A?
Well, I think we've always got areas where we need to improve. We've seen a lot of, when I first came here, we had a lot of complaints about our emergency department.
Yes.
Lack of timeliness, concerns about the care being provided. I think a year and a half ago, 25% of the people who came to our emergency department waited more than 6 hours before they were fully assessed. Now that number is less than 15%. So we're seeing improvement. We're seeing a lot of strong improvement, and we've still got work that we need to do.
Last grade, response to complaints.
I'd say that's an A.
So in what way? How has that changed?
I think that if a veteran has a complaint, that we have many more avenues for him or her to seek resolution than in any hospital in the DFW complex.
Do you see those complaints, you personally? You're the top guy. Do you see them?
Absolutely. If a veteran writes a letter to me, we've got these boxes called Speak to the Director, and they can write their complaint. Every one of those come across my desk, and I read them, and I look what our response is, and I decide whether it's appropriate or not. And there are many times when I pick up the phone myself and call that veteran and say, what could we have done better? I got your letter. And I'll also get compliments on the care we provide, and I'll always thank them for taking the trouble to give us a compliment.
And when we get a call complaining about care, are they outliers? Do we not have the right perception of the big picture? What do you think is happening there?
We care for 113,000 veterans in North Texas, and invariably, as I said, when I walk around the clinics, around the inpatient units, the feedback I get is very positive. Now, from time to time, I'm sure there are times when we do drop the ball, and I apologize for that. But I think overall, I believe that overall the quality of the care that we provide is very, very good. Right. My father was a veteran and got his health care at the VA.
Well, I do think it's an interesting story. Your father died in a VA hospital.
That's correct.
So you think that gives you, I would imagine that gives you a different kind of perspective.
It does. It does. He died at the VA hospital in Tennessee, and my parents were very pleased with the care that he received. And it's sad. It's difficult whenever you lose a loved one.
I know you want suicide in the military and by veterans is really top priority right now, and it'll come up during your visit tomorrow. But I know you have a hotline you want to make sure you get in tonight. So let's do it.
Absolutely. If there's any veteran out there who is in crisis, we ask that they call the Veterans Crisis Hotline. The number is on the screen. It's 1-800-273-8255. Please, if you're going through a difficult time, reach out for help, and we will apply all the resources necessary to make sure that you're well cared for.
All right. Jeff Milligan, thanks. I think tomorrow could be rough. You ready for it?
We are.
Okay. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you, sir.